The cashless payment system I had agonized over and finally decided to implement was about to be shut down with a single word from the owner, Kevin. At that moment, the voice of our part-time worker, Rachel, cut through the air. "So, we just need to increase our sales, right?" Kevin replied hesitantly. "Well, yeah. Brandon, let's have a strategy meeting." Her sudden suggestion caught me by surprise, but just what was this strategy? My name is Brandon. I'm 30 years old. I work as the manager of a retro-style coffee shop, one of those old-school places. I've always loved coffee, and back when I was in college, I used to come to this shop all the time. The coffee that Kevin, the manager at the time, brewed was absolutely exceptional, and I would watch him closely as he made it. As I kept coming back to the shop, Kevin eventually asked if I wanted to work there part-time. While working there, he taught me how to brew coffee and prepare light meals. After graduating college, I joined the coffee shop as a full-time employee. Then, 2 years ago, Kevin told me he wanted to retire. He became the owner, and I took over as the manager. Despite saying he retired, Kevin still comes in almost every day, taking his usual seat at the end of the counter, reading books or working on his laptop. At first, it felt like he was keeping an eye on me, but after 2 years, it became just part of the daily routine. Besides, Kevin never interferes with how I run things. In fact, he eats the meals I prepare with a satisfied look and drinks the coffee I brew, saying things like, "This is great. I don't even want to drink the coffee I used to make anymore." A bell jingles through the shop. A new customer has just walked in. "Welcome." Today's floor staff, Rachel, quickly heads toward the entrance. Rachel, who is 23 this year, is a tall and slender beauty with striking, sharp eyes. She works efficiently, but she's not exactly friendly. That would usually be a deal breaker in customer service, but most of our customers come alone, drink coffee, and focus on their own tasks. They don't really care about friendly service. In fact, many of them appreciate how quickly and precisely Rachel handles their requests. Maybe it's this kind of working environment she likes. She's continued working here even after graduating college nearly a year ago. Apparently, she wanted to prioritize a side job she started during college, so she chose a flexible part-time gig. At the entrance, Rachel asks, "How many in your party?" But the customer pulls out their phone and starts asking about cashless payments. When she tells them, "We only accept cash," they frown and leave. Rachel returns to the counter, unfazed, and reports, "They said they didn't have any cash on them." I let out a sigh. Recently, cashless payments have become more common, and more customers are showing up without any cash at all. But I've always preferred using cash myself and never wanted to deal with complicated systems. Kevin, of course, is also in the cash-only camp, so we've always run this shop that way. We hadn't really had any issues until now, but once smartphone payments came along in addition to credit cards, the situation changed rapidly. "Maybe it's time we started thinking about going cashless too," Kevin muttered while sipping coffee at the counter. I frowned slightly. "Yeah, I guess it's about time." I muttered like it was someone else's problem, and Kevin looked at me. "Then I'll leave it to you." I stared blankly. "Ha!" Kevin looked exasperated at my surprised reaction. "Don't to me. You're the manager, Brandon. You handle the implementation." I furrowed my brow. "Come on, Kevin. You're the one who handles the finances and compiles the sales reports, right? Shouldn't you take care of the payments too?" I tried saying something, but Kevin folded his arms. "You really think I can handle something that complicated?" Kevin, now 68, manages the sales on the computer and handles all the accounting with no problem. But beyond that, he's pretty clueless. If he needs to look something up online or an app starts acting up, he just dumps it on me with a "take care of it." This time would likely be no different. If we were going to introduce a cashless payment system, I'd have to be the one to do it. I gave in and decided to start gathering information. Once I started researching, I realized just how many different payment systems were out there. If foreign services started coming in too, I'd be completely lost. For now, I decided to start with credit card payments and a smartphone payment service I'd often heard about in commercials. But even setting up credit card payments turned out to be a major hassle. Should we contract directly with each card company? Or should we use a service that bundles everything together? The former takes a lot of effort, but since there's no middleman, the fees are lower. The latter is less work, but it costs more. Thinking about the card readers and other equipment just gave me a headache. And then there were electronic money payments and QR code payments. There was no end to it. When I started grumbling more and more, Rachel calmly said, "Honestly, I think it's fine to stick with cash payments." But Kevin won't be satisfied with that. When I complained, Rachel was blunt. In the end, if Kevin, who handles the sales management, doesn't understand the system, all your effort might go to waste. I tilted my head. At the time, I didn't fully grasp what Rachel meant. Several months after I began considering the idea, I finally managed to implement a cashless payment system. Along with it, we updated the register system too. Thanks to a thorough explanation from the vendor, both Rachel and I understood how to use it, and managing sales through the device made things a little easier. Hopefully, this would bring in more customers. With the system in place, all that was left was to get back to our usual coffee shop routine. Feeling like a bit of weight had been lifted off my shoulders, I slowly brewed a cup of coffee. 1 month after introducing the cashless payment system, I was feeling quite a sense of progress. First, handling cash became so much easier. Of course, not everyone switched to cashless payments just because we introduced it. Some customers still paid in cash, but closing out the register each day became much smoother. Fewer mistakes with giving the wrong change, and with cashless payments, there's almost no room for error. And as expected, our customer count went up. People who used to turn around at the door when they saw cash only were now coming in. Those who previously didn't have enough cash for more than a drink were now ordering snacks as well. It definitely felt busier than the previous month. However, what the heck is this fee? I turned wide-eyed at the sudden outburst. Kevin was glaring at the computer, clicking his tongue. Even from a distance, I could tell he was in a foul mood, and I hesitated to say anything. I wonder what's going on. I turned to Rachel, who was nearby. She sighed softly and said, "It's just proof that it's not all benefits," and then quickly walked away to clean the table a customer had just left. Then Kevin came walking over. "What the heck is this? Why are we getting charged this much?" When I looked at the computer screen he was pointing to, it showed the total deposits along with a breakdown of the amounts. Sales had indeed gone up compared to the previous month, but so had the processing fees. Well, sales have gone up compared to last month. Even with the fees, this still seems like a... Before I could finish, Kevin snapped, "I can't stand pointless fees like this the most." I was left speechless. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. Fees are inevitable. As I stammered, Kevin glared at me. I did some research myself, but the numbers I saw weren't this high. That made cold sweat trickle down my back. After weighing various options, I had ended up going with a payment service provider that bundled everything together rather than contracting with each card company individually. It was too complex to do on my own. I thought it was worth paying the service fee if it meant someone else handled all the setup. At least, that's what I thought. But Kevin saw it differently. He didn't want to pay extra for anything. Even if it took more effort, he wanted to keep the fees as low as possible. I'm sorry, but I just didn't understand it well enough. At that, Kevin lost his temper. "You can't slack off just because you're a hired manager. You're the manager, Brandon. You've got to cut costs wherever you can and push sales up." He wasn't wrong, but thanks to the provider I chose, we were able to support a wide range of cashless payment options, which made our customers happy. If we had gone the individual route, we could only support a few companies at best. I tried explaining that, but Kevin's frown didn't budge. "That's it. I'm done. If we're getting charged this much in fees, it just feels like a loss. Let's go back to cash only. I was completely against that. Please wait. We've started getting more repeat customers thanks to cashless payments. Our sales have actually increased. Please, let's just keep going with it. I pleaded, but Kevin was unmoved. The more our sales go up, the more we get charged in fees, right? It's ridiculous. If we were seeing some huge spike in sales, fine. But it's not even that much. Kevin scratched his head with a sour look on his face. Then, a bright voice cut through the tension. So, if sales were to go up significantly, you'd be willing to continue with cashless payments? We turned to see Rachel standing expressionless with a mop in hand. She wasn't smiling at all. There was something about her presence that made Kevin falter just a little. Well, I guess. Rachel thought for a moment, then looked at me. Then Brandon, let's have a strategy meeting. The sudden proposal left me blinking in confusion. 6 p.m. after the shop had closed for the day. Rachel and I had finished our closing tasks and now sat facing each other at a table inside the shop, the blinds drawn down. It felt a bit like some sort of interrogation. Though she had called it a strategy meeting, Rachel just sat there in silence with her head down. Even if this was a strategy session, I had no ideas to offer. Just as I was starting to feel awkward, Rachel slowly pulled her phone from her bag and placed it on the table. Her hand stayed on top of it. I voiced my confusion, and without looking up, Rachel said, "Please wait. I just need a minute. And don't be surprised, okay?" No, I didn't expect that, or anything. Her unusual preface made me frown slightly. I have no idea what you're talking about. What is this? At my question, Rachel slowly lifted her hand from the phone and turned the screen toward me. On it was a photo of an incredibly cute, idol-like girl posing with an equally adorable pancake. What is this? I asked with a puzzled look, and Rachel, still looking down, replied quietly. That's me. I stared hard at the photo, unable to understand what she meant. Which part is that? Suddenly, Rachel slammed her hand on the table, her eyes teary and her face flushed red as she glared at me and shouted, This is me," while pointing at the girl in the photo with the pancake. I looked back and forth between Rachel and the photo, about to shout in disbelief, when I suddenly covered my mouth. I remembered her earlier warning not to be surprised. But Rachel pouted and said, "It's a little late for that. You already made a huge shocked face." It was impossible not to be surprised. Rachel, sitting in front of me, wore thin framed glasses and had straight black hair. She had it neatly tied back in a single ponytail, with her bangs clipped firmly in place. Her sharp eyes stood out, and though she wore almost no makeup, her skin was remarkably clear. In contrast, the girl in the photo also had black hair, but it was styled in loosely curled twin tails. She wore no glasses, had full makeup on, and her eyes were round with long lashes instead of sharp. "It's makeup," she said. Well, sure, I could figure that out, but still, how could someone look so different? Rachel bit her lip tightly. I actually love cute things. That sudden confession made my eyes widen. It doesn't suit me, does it? Sounds weird, right? A plain girl like me saying that. But if that girl in the photo says it, it sounds normal, right? I couldn't quite process what she meant. What? What do you mean? Does how you look really change anything? I mean, even if the Rachel sitting in front of me said she liked cute things, it wouldn't seem weird at all. Rachel gave me a skeptical look. What are you talking about? A plain, stern-looking woman like me isn't allowed to eat pancakes at a coffee shop. I returned her look with one of my own. That was a pretty strong stereotype. Come on. But take Samuel, for example. He's a regular here. He's got a tough-looking face, but he always orders cream soda, right? Once again, Rachel slammed the table. Exactly. You say that because it looks weird when Samuel orders cream soda, don't you? I groaned. Okay, she had a point. The contrast between his appearance and the order was a bit noticeable. Sorry, Samuel, but it's not like it leaves a bad impression. As I searched for the right way to explain that, Rachel seemed to reach her own conclusion. See? Appearance creates expectations. I told my sister about how I felt, and she said I should just change myself, so she gave me this look. Are you even looking at it properly? At her words, I looked at the photo again and was stunned. The photo had been posted on social media, and the number of likes had surpassed 100,000. At first, my sister took the photo and posted it without asking me, but then it suddenly started getting noticed, and the number of likes kept growing. And even though I just love cute things and sweets and go around trying them out, it seems my reviews are pretty accurate, and the places I say will get popular always do. So sometimes I even get paid to post this as my side job. Hearing that, I finally understood what she was aiming for, and I shook my head firmly. No, absolutely not. If we spread this too quickly and suddenly get a surge of new customers, our regulars will be the ones who suffer. That kind of crowd isn't what our real sales should come from. If you're planning to promote the shop dressed like that, I'm rejecting the idea. I looked Rachel straight in the eye as I spoke, and she gave me a blank stare. You're saying no, even though it's an easy way to boost sales? I nodded. And besides, someone might recognize you. I'm not great at telling faces apart, but now that I look closely, it's clearly you. If people realize you work here, it could become dangerous. You don't post your real name or where you live, right? If it gets out that you work here, that's not safe for you. At my words, Rachel's eyes widened in surprise. You're saying my safety is more important than the shop's sales? She asked, and I nodded. Of course it is. Rachel lowered her gaze and gave a small nod. Then, maybe another approach. Even without showing my face, I think this coffee shop could become popular if we handle the information strategy well. I gave her a doubtful look. Information strategy? I asked, and Rachel nodded as she started tapping on her phone. Right now, retro-style coffee shops are pretty popular with young people. When I looked at her screen, it was full of photos of young people taking pictures in retro cafes posted on social media. Brandon, your coffee and light meals. They're really delicious, Rachel said, staring directly at me. It made me a little embarrassed. Well, I did learn from Kevin. As I scratched my head, Rachel kept her eyes on me. In terms of flavor alone, this place is the kind of cafe that would totally take off. You can trust me on that. So here's my suggestion. How about adding pancakes to the menu? I frowned. Wouldn't that feel a little outdated at this point? Rachel shook her head. It doesn't have to be pancakes, just something sweet that appeals to younger people. The thought of you making it, with your cooking skills, is enough to make my mouth water. I just really love pancakes, so I want to try the ones you make. For once, the usually expressionless Rachel looked dreamy. It made my heart race a little. I mean, I'd like to try something like that, but I don't want the customer base to change completely. One of the best parts of this place is how our regulars can relax here. Rachel gave a thoughtful hum at my response. Then suddenly, her face lit up. What if we made it time-based or only on certain days? Like serving sweets only from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. That's when we have the fewest customers. It would feel like a special treat. Calling it our low customer hours was a bit unnecessary, but it was still a good idea. And so, our plan came together. We would serve sweets aimed at younger customers, but only during limited hours. I immediately began developing the menu. A few months later, our limited-time sweets hour was so successful we had to hire temporary part-time staff to keep up. In the end, we went with pancakes, Rachel's favorite. I whipped the meringue into a fluffy batter, and when cooked, the pancakes would melt gently in your mouth. To keep it from being too ordinary, I made the sweetness adjustable to appeal to a broader age range. The idea came from curry restaurants that let you choose the level of spiciness. I also offered free toppings, including savory options like tuna and fried eggs, so customers could enjoy it with whoever they came with. Bit by bit, more customers came, and many became repeat visitors. Even some of our regulars started coming during pancake hour just to have a taste. Of course, for our regulars, I'd make pancakes at any time of day. They always say kind things to help keep the peace in the shop. People in the age group that tends to order pancakes often use cashless payment methods, and they were thrilled to have the option. Even Kevin, who used to be so against the fees, was satisfied after seeing how much business it brought in and how many of those customers paid with cashless options. Recently, he even tried using cashless payment himself and found it surprisingly convenient, now going around saying, "The future is cashless." Meanwhile, I'm still firmly in the cash camp. With cash, I don't have to worry about internet outages causing trouble, and most importantly, I can visually see how much I'm spending, which to me is an irreplaceable benefit. Rachel uses both. She once told me she didn't want to miss out on good food just because a place only took cash. In the end, it's best for everyone to use what suits them when it suits them. One night after closing time, I had finished my end-of-day tasks. Rachel had finished cleaning, and she was putting away the cleaning supplies. Suddenly, I turned off the lights in the shop. Ah, did the power go out? I brought a cake with a lit candle over to Rachel, who had just cried out. In the darkness, I could sense her surprise. "Happy birthday," I said, and Rachel's eyes went wide. "Wait, you knew it was my birthday?" The candlelight gently illuminated Rachel's face. When I gave her a small nod, she leaned forward and softly blew out the candle. As I turned the lights back on in the shop, Rachel immediately protested. "Oh, come on, you really scared me." Whoa! Her protest turned into a gasp of delight. She had just seen the cake that had held the candle a moment ago. The fluffy pancake was shaped like a rabbit, decorated with plenty of fruit and ice cream, a special edition. "It's so cute. Can I take a photo?" "Just one?" Watching Rachel, usually so stoic and serious, completely light up over something cute, a thing she insists doesn't suit her, filled my heart with warmth. Cute is cute no matter what someone looks like. Right now, even though she still wore her usual thin framed glasses, had her straight black hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, and her sharp, makeup-free eyes, Rachel looked absolutely adorable. Of course, I couldn't say any of this out loud. It would definitely cross the line, so I kept it to myself. After snapping a few photos, Rachel took a bite of the pancake and smiled blissfully. "This is amazing." I sat down across from her with a smile and gave a slight bow. "Rachel, I really appreciate everything you've done. What do you think? Did I manage to return the favor a little?" At my words, Rachel looked at me wide-eyed. "Appreciate me? For what?" She genuinely didn't seem to understand, which flustered me a bit. "Well, for giving me the idea, for helping make it a hit. This whole success. It's thanks to you." Rachel gave a soft laugh. "What are you talking about? It's all because of your talent, Brandon. Sure, people come in for the pancakes, but they also order coffee, don't they? Your coffee is outstanding. This place wouldn't be thriving without you. You're an amazing manager, great cook, and genuinely kind." Her smile caught me off guard, and I stumbled over my words. "Kind? I mean, I've had you doing a lot of hard work." Embarrassed, I scratched my head, but Rachel shook her head with a serious look. "No, you really are kind. You didn't use me as a spokesperson just for marketing, and during pancake hours, you keep me in the back so I'm not put on display." I burst out laughing. "That's it? I was expecting something more from all that talk about how kind I am." Rachel looked at me, her eyes shimmering slightly. "The way you just say things like, of course, so naturally. That kindness is why. I love you." My eyes widened to their limit, and Rachel immediately panicked. "Wah, oh no, forget I said that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." My heart was racing, and I was too stunned to answer right away. Forget it. Yeah, Right, I should. I mean, there's no way someone like you would say that to someone like me, right? Trying to cover it up, I forced a laugh, and Rachel lowered her head. That's not it. I just thought you'd be troubled if a plain girl like me said something like that. It might make working together awkward. Somehow, we were completely talking past each other. No, it's not awkward at all. And plain? You're totally cute. Wait, no, not just totally. You are cute. Definitely cute. My words came out clumsily, but they were honest, and Rachel turned bright red. Ha! She was speechless, so I added, the way you eat pancakes so happily, how much you love cute things, how you work with such care. Those photos you post on social media, everything about you is cute. Rachel, her face still bright red, trembled slightly. Then, is it okay that I like you? I mean, I love watching you make coffee and prepare meals, and even how you told me it would be dangerous to use me in promotions. You even let me stay in the back during the busiest times to protect me. I just, I really love that about you. Is that not a problem? My ears burned as I shook my head. No way. Not a problem at all, if anything. You're not grossed out by an older guy like me? At that, Rachel suddenly burst into laughter. I just told you I like you. Why would you jump to the idea that it's gross? We both laughed for a while, and then I reached out and gently took her hand. If you're okay with someone like me, will you be my girlfriend? At my confession, Rachel gave me a gentle smile and said, I'd be happy to. Let's make it official. And a few years later, Rachel and I got married. The wedding wasn't held at a fancy venue or a chapel, but right here in our coffee shop. It was a cafe wedding where I, the groom, prepared the pancakes myself, and Rachel, the bride, served them to our guests. The shop was filled with the comforting aroma of coffee, wrapping everyone in warmth and joy. Rachel, in a dress that beautifully accentuated her tall, slender figure, moved through the cafe with a radiant smile. Guests couldn't stop praising the pancakes and coffee. Of course, they couldn't. I had refined my pancake recipe over time, always trying to make it better just to make Rachel happy, just to see her smile, to watch that blissful look on her face when the flavor melted in her mouth. The cafe is still thriving, just like always. That issue with cashless payment fees sparked not only a shift in our cafe's direction, but also a turning point in our relationship. And yet, our regulars still enjoy their quiet, unchanging moments here. The world is always changing. But in each moment, I want to make choices that protect the things that truly matter. As I watched Rachel's smile, the one thing I never want to lose, I quietly reflected on all of it.